Welcome to the live original versus between the SEC and the Big Ten. That's right. The original SEC versus Big Ten podcast. I'm Ron from Oakland, live from Oakland, California. Welcome to the show. We've been off for a few days, observed a little football as we could. We could not catch the USC game. We saw some of the highlights, Zachariah Branch and other players. But we are going to start this show off with gratitude for college football. We are here 2 days away from seeing a couple of big time games, and uh, the Big Ten, I believe, is Nebraska going on the road against Minnesota. We also have the University of Florida Gators going on the road against a top 25 ranked team in the Utah Utes. So, Championship Experience Minds poll has dropped the top 25, which is a little different than everyone. So, based on their algorithm, they have Georgia number one. They have Alabama number two. They have LSU at number three. Michigan is it's the top ranked non-SEC team at number four, followed by Ohio State, then Penn State. It's a little weird here. And then they go to Southern California, Tennessee, Oregon, Clemson. That's the top 10. So no Florida State. Actually, I have Florida State ranked at number 15. 11th, they have Washington. 12, they have Texas. 13, Notre Dame, who might move up after week one with two wins. Yeah, they're not going to be updated. These are the preseason polls here. And 14, we have Utah. 15, we have Florida State. 16, Ole Miss. What do you got? 17, you got Arkansas. 18, we have TCU. We're going to paper pop some stuff here. 19, Kansas State. 20, South Carolina. 21, Wisconsin. 22, North Carolina. 23, Tulane, the only G5 program ranked by all polls. 24, Florida. Wow, that's big. Under six on the betting lines of Vegas, and they're ranked 24th. Some people have A&M around this, but who's the better team? This is what they're ranking it as. And 25, Texas Tech. Who is my sleeper? It should be Oklahoma State and Texas Tech we're looking at, maybe possibly in the Big 12 championship, but we're going to see about that. So that's the bowl rankings. And right now we're going to dive into the road to Atlanta. Since Kirby Smart was hired away from his alma mater to his alma mater from Alabama, working many years, almost a decade or more, for Coach Nick Saban. We've seen Alabama and Georgia meet up in the 2018 SEC Championship in Atlanta, the 2021, and they missed it in 2022. In these games, Nick Saban's 2-0. And so now we're about to dive into what's actually going on with the Crimson Tide this year, who many people are really down on this year, which is pretty surprising because, Bryce Young met the expectations of a year two quarterback in Alabama's system. I believe A.J. McCarron is the only Alabama quarterback under Nick Saban to have won a national championship as a full-time starter in their second season. He also won in their first season. So he's the exception to the key here. But usually, first time starters in Nick Saban's system has seen the most success, and usually very hard for them to repeat it. Which AJ McCarron has been the only quarterback under Nick Saban to repeat such success, as Stetson Bennett has become the only quarterback in UGA's history in the last 40 years to win a national championship and also to win the SEC championship. To win the SEC championship is more difficult to win than the national championship. It's just that reality. To win the SEC championship is more difficult than to win the national championship. And you can see that evidence because there's been three national championships teams within the last 3 years, in the last 10 years, I should say 12, 15 years. And we go back to 2011, 2017, and 2021, where you've had a team who did not win the SEC that won the national championship. They did not play in the SEC championship, but they played in the national championship. And usually that team would beat the SEC champion. That's one of the dilemmas of realizing the reality of SEC football is that, the expanding the playoffs only makes it that much tougher on the SEC championship. That's what a lot of fans are now realizing outside of the SEC bubble is that Big Ten fans, everybody's looking at money, media, and everything. They want the SEC to be down. But the problem is that really in reality, who has the most wins against the SEC champion since 1992? You have Nebraska with 3. You have Florida State winning. They beat Auburn for a national championship. Okay, they've beaten Florida a couple times under Bobby Bowden, who won the SEC championship. So Clemson's beaten Alabama twice. Ohio State's beat Alabama once. USC hasn't done it in the last 40 years, not even the last 50 years. So that's the reality is that as likely as Ohio State, Clemson, Southern California have a chance to beat the SEC champion, it's more likely that the runner-up in the SEC could possibly do that more than that champion of another conference. And so we go into looking exactly what Alabama's facing this year and realizing, as the screen is showing, that we're looking into possibly seeing an old school vintage Alabama, all about ground and pound, because in order for your defense to get tougher, your offense has to be tough. In order for your defense to be able to stop the run, your offense has to be able to run the ball. And you have to dictate that personality in practice day in and day out, half the time, motivating your offensive line how to improve, improving on technique and skill development, strength and 1-2 leadership. So I think Alabama was very young last year with a veteran quarterback who, nowadays you're not really getting the best out of a quarterback if they have a long-term NFL future. And very few successful NFL quarterbacks have had great success in college. The only one I could think of right now is Joe Burrow, who's played in the Super Bowl as a starter and played in the national championship. And if you go on that standard, Cam Newton as well. Middle Tennessee State University, who is notorious for stomping the University of Miami Hurricanes in 2022, opens up the season as the sacrificial lamb for Alabama's opening season game. They host Middle Tennessee State at home. It should be an easy game. I'm looking at 3 possessions to 5 possessions separation between the teams. Before you start putting in, players in second, third depth chart. Saban has to exercise getting all his quarterbacks as much as experience as possible here. So because he's not going to show much, you're not going to see much. You're going to just see a lot of ground and pound. You're going to see a lot of basic run concepts, a lot of maybe day 1 and 2 of the offensive install this year. Maybe some things that Sark is aware of, some things that he's not aware of, some things he may have seen a couple times, but might not have explored that avenue of running the ball to that effectiveness because he was coaching Mac Jones, he was coaching Tua, Tagovailoa, however you want to say his name. So week 2 comes in, the Texas Longhorns. They're feeling good. They've been working all off season, focused on this game. They believe they have the size, they have the power, they have the recruiting, they have the coaching to come into Alabama and do something that not many SEC schools have been able to do in the last decade, and that's go into Alabama at night and win a game. Texas thinks they're capable of doing that. I, for another, see no way that Texas wins this game unless there's a serious injuries to Alabama week 1 and early on in this game. So I see Alabama coasting past Texas. We're not going to celebrate Texas barely losing the game last year and losing a other team. They didn't get to the Big 12 championship game, and they're the most talented roster in the Big 12. We're not going to show Sark any love until he wins more than 8 games. If Robert Lamar was on the show right now, you know what he call it? He says 7-win Sark, baby. 7-win Sark. That's the name for Sarkisian. He's just nothing. Steve Sarkisian is nothing but a 7-win coach. He can win 8 games, yes, but can he win 11? Can he win 12? Can he win 10 regular season games? We're not counting this as a win, folks. Alabama rolls. Roll Tide. Then they actually says, Nick Saban said, I'm going to bless all my Tampa people for, helping me recruit IMG and, helping me recruit all these top players in Tampa, Florida. I got Keon Keeley out here, all these top dogs out of Tampa. I'm going to bless you folks down there to help me sustain this success. So we're going to do a road game down in South Florida in Tampa. And they're going to play in the Buck Stadium. It's going to be cool for the players experience to play in the NFL stadium because they're going to be on the road and they're going to be in the NFL locker. That's a great game, and that's a great experience for these players. And they're just going to get tuned up for Lane Kiffin's offense in week 4. And that's what South Florida basically is because, I have Alabama right now going 12-0. They have a couple toss-up games. I'm not counting Texas as a toss-up game. I'm counting that as a close game. That's it. If they could make separation against Texas, that's going to be a great accomplishment for Nick Saban at week 2. But right now, we're just building this thing up. We're getting more experience of running the ball and dominating line of scrimmage and getting our quarterbacks a various amount of experience. Will we see multiple quarterbacks go through week in and week out? South Florida presents an opportunity for Nick Saban to stretch out and allow his younger quarterbacks to get more experience, depending on who exactly is the starting quarterback. Is it Ty Simpson? Is it Jalen Monroe? Is it someone else? My guess is Jalen Monroe runs out here and he brings that running dynamic to this running offense. And with his experience from last year, backing up Bryce Young and starting the game due to injury, I see Jalen Monroe coming in, enter into SEC play, week 4, September 23rd, bringing Lane Kiffin and his Ole Miss Rebels into Alabama, going 4-0. And that little experience going on the road prepares you because, right then you going on 2 road games in SEC. Neither one is going to be a little easy game. There's no such thing as an easy game in SEC. When you people talking about how crappy a schedule is, SEC teams can call another SEC schedule crappy. But if you're not an SEC program, you're probably playing a whack schedule as it is. Even if you think is loaded, it's probably whack in comparison of talent, NFL talent, pedigree of coaches and pedigree of play. So week 5, you're 4-0, you're on the road, you eat the Cowbells, Mississippi State. You get out of that, that's a close game right there. It's going to be tough. Mississippi defense is going to really battle that one right on the way through the end. So you want to get to this point healthy as possible. It's not about if you're winning, it's about how healthy you are, how comfortable is the offense under the new offensive coordinator, how well is the offensive line gelling through this time, and who is the go-to wide receiver? Who's established himself as number one? Is it Isaiah Bond? Is it someone else? I don't know your name. You got to tell me. You got to play this game and show me some results on the field and grind time. I need to see you in week 2. I need to see you in week 4. I need to see you in week 5 on the road. I need to see you show up in this game early, set the tone, allow the running game to get that deep into it. So you win this game, you squeak out. It's imperative. It's very important here that you're as healthy as possible, Saban, because next week you got a team that prepares a whole season just for this game and no one else. I think they prepare for 2 games all year, Alabama and LSU, and that's Texas A&M Aggies on the road. Probably going to be a night game. Jimbo's on his knees this game to save his job because I don't think he's winning. He hasn't won many games yet in the SEC. He hasn't really done anything yet. So how long ago was that 8-1 regular season where he dodged Ole Miss? It's going on 3 years now. 3 full seasons. It's in a rearview mirror. It's a whole different class. That was Kellen Mond's maybe last year. So now you have this where Texas A&M, this is their Super Bowl. This is their hope. This is their despair. This is everything for them. And you're ready for this because you almost lost them 2 years in a row. They play you that well. They play their best against you. And when you're a top dog in the SEC, you're going to get everyone's best shot every week because they want to knock you out. They want to be the dogs that knocked you out. I'm the one that knocked you out. So it's important that you go into this game healthy as possible. Roll Tide, because if you go in healthy, you should be rolling through this game. I don't want to see this game as a loss. I need you to get through this game. You can't allow Jimbo Fisher to save his job and get to a bowl game because you lose this game. Now, I don't think that's the expectations of the fans, the program, or the coach to lose this game. I don't think it's acceptable for Nick Saban to ever lose this game ever again as long as he coaches. I think this is a retirement game once he loses ever again. So now you knock down Middle Tennessee, you knock down Texas, you knock down South Florida, and you begin the season with 3 out-of-conference schedules. You leave one in for a bye week, basically, right before Auburn in Chattanooga. So this is just the SEC gauntlet you're going through. You start off 3-0, you're 6-0 overall, 3-0 in the conference, and now you have a streak where you have 2 home games, a bye, and LSU at home. That's sweet. That's good because the way you're gonna end that little run because you're gonna have 2 road games at the end of Alabama, at the end of November. Excuse me. So after the Aggies, you're gonna find out how healthy is Arkansas, how healthy you are. You played them at their house with a backup quarterback last year who has much more experience. A lot of similarities in the build and the style of Jalen Monroe and KJ Jefferson. A lot of similarities. And what I'm interested in is by this time is how healthy is Alabama's running backs. Jace McClellan, is he healthy? We haven't seen him healthy in a while. He got hurt early on in 2021. He got hurt early on in 2022. So this is 3 years. It's been almost 3 years since we've seen him healthy. And last time he was healthy, it was the kid out from Oakland, California, Najee Harris. He was at the helm. So you run through these games. Arkansas at home, you have to be healthy to run the ball now. You need your wide receivers stepping up because you have to start gearing your offense and change it up, getting ready for some speed. You played one of the best wide receiver cores the previous week on the road. You were able to shut down their running game and force them to a lot of long third down run, distant passing, and they would get to that quarterback. I think Alabama's defensive line, they have a lot of edge rushers that can be multiple. And they can get to the quarterback, and they're very athletic, top ranked dogs. So get through Arkansas, they're going to want to run the ball and they're going to want to dominate, but they don't have the talent. But you're getting prepared for the next 2 weeks because going into this bye, you got Tennessee at home after you lost to them last year. You didn't want to lose to these dogs, but you lost to them on a missed field goal that you could have won the game. And now you're at home. This has got CBS written all over it, but we want to see where it goes. So they take this game, they go into that bye, and it's about the other team you lost to at home. See, last year they said the dynasty is decaying. That's what Michael Bratton said. The dynasty is decaying, but it's not decaying, folks. It's not decaying. It's not over because this push right here is just getting them ready for the championship weekend. They're like, we are battle tested. This is why people are saying Alabama's going to win the SEC championship, and this is why I'm predicting Alabama to win the championship, because week after week they're going through the sledgehammer fights. They're going through the fights. You just Texas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arkansas, now Tennessee, right before your bye. That's like, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot to go through. And you get that week off, you're like, oh my God, we're 8-0, and we got LSU at home. And you know that's the nighttime game. CBS nighttime. Nighttime is CBS. This is it right here. After your cigar, you clean out your lungs for your cigar. And the Bengals are coming in. And those elephants are going to be rolling. Roll Tide. And then you got this is where it gets sneaky for you, because you go on the road after these big wins. After a bye, you go to Kentucky. Kentucky is almost as good as their depth chart. And as healthy as they are, it is the better they are. Now, you go through that game unscathed, you get the rest of your players the following week at Chattanooga, and you see a glimpse of what Auburn could be at the end of the season on the road. It's going to be a tough game, maybe a 10-point win, maybe like a 28-17 kind of game where you slug it out on the road. And it's going to be a very difficult battle, but Hugh Freeze is going to show everyone on national championship there's going to be some hype going into the 2024 season for those Auburn Tigers. So that's basically 12-0. And then they're in Atlanta, ding, 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 in one corner. On the other side of the corner, two-time heavyweight champion, back-to-back champion. Last time you played, you lost an excuse the technical difficulties. But the Georgia Bulldogs doesn't have much to talk about. We're just going to dive in and see where the games can be played that can test their depth chart, that could test their quarterback, what can give them a little confusion, where could be difficult challenges. And the schedule sets up more challenging if there was the out-of-conference play. And the out-of-conference play is very, 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 very weak. That's where you get into the weakness. It's not their schedule, it's the out-of-conference schedule. They were scheduled to play Oklahoma, as everyone knows it. If you're watching my show, you know football, so you know that. You know Oklahoma was supposed to be on the schedule, but when they added Oklahoma to the SEC along with Texas, Texas was able to get Oklahoma to join them. They needed to cancel this game so Oklahoma couldn't back out. They didn't want the SEC champion showing that you're 60-point difference. You know, if Georgia beats Oklahoma 60-10 this year, does Oklahoma really want to come to the SEC? They may back out last second, so we had to cancel this game. And if that's not the true story, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. So I'm going to skip the first 2 weeks because they play absolutely nobody. I don't even know who the schedule is. But you play, all I know is you play South Carolina week 3 at home. Week 5, you go on the road to Auburn. Used to be a November game, but you're getting Auburn right when they're trying to discover who they are. They're still learning the playbook. This year, you may beat them by 30, but it's all setting up for next year. Then you have on the following week, you're hosting Kentucky after they just hosted Florida. They're a little disappointed because they lost that game. This game is not as challenging as you want, but they're going to play you tough. Low scoring game, possibly. I say like a 24-10 type of game where UGA comes out on top. And they're just like knocking these guys down. There's not really much of a fight, but you're not really putting up a dominating performance at the same time. So you go into this last game at Vanderbilt before the bye. It's an exercise. Vanderbilt doesn't have the dogs to stay up with you. You wear them out. 30, 40 point lead, possibly. Vanderbilt shows a little strong heart, maybe 28 points, maybe a 4 TD dump dog. And you get into that bye, and it's all about dominating the Gators. But suddenly, Gators might be undefeated, might be a one-loss team. They might be 6-1, 5-2, 4-3, 3-4. Wherever they are, is that if you want to win a national championship, Georgia, you have to win this game. So there's no overstep in this game. But when you get into this is a game where, depending on attrition, this game can surprise a lot of people. And you're going to realize why it's been such a great rivalry over the years, that there's been times where the top dog goes into this game, they're no longer the top dog. And that's what's possible here. Many people don't want to think that. They say, no, Florida scored some points on them last year. They moved the ball. They didn't have much talent. They were discovering themselves in that game. They had a hell of a run as their attrition began to secrete the program and the roster. And people were being evicted out of the roster on the team in the incoming moments after the game. So you play this game in Jacksonville. It's a win. I'm giving you the win, but it's going to be a dogfight. They're going to punch you. You're going to be like, this is going to be the first time you're going to have a little something on the side of your mouth. You're going to be like, wait a minute. He landed a real punch right there. My tooth hit my cheek and there's a little blood. No. I haven't had a hit on my face. I haven't had a cut. I haven't had any blood since 2020, baby. This ain't what it is. So, is it enough to knock the big dogs out? No, it's not enough. But we're saying, does it get you prepared for Alabama because they're battle tested? Maybe. We'll see. Florida has to hold their end up. They have to beat Utah. They have to beat Tennessee. They have to beat Kentucky. They have to prove that South Carolina wasn't a fluke. They have to beat Vanderbilt after they lost to them the previous years. So there's things going on both avenues that we have to say, what exactly is Florida and what exactly is Georgia at this time? That's why this is always the best time of year for them, because you are who you are when you get to this game. And you're either good or you're not, or you're really good. And Georgia should be good. Florida could be good. But we're going to see it on the field. And it gets a little tight from this point, because now, depending on how hard Florida goes after you and how the game goes and your depth chart, your offensive tackles, because that left tackle is who you want to see during the season. Like, this is going to be their real first test. They're going to see something against South Carolina, Auburn, Kentucky. Yeah, but this is going to be something where you're playing some players that are going to the NFL draft maybe in the top 3 rounds in multiple positions in that front 7, and you're going to have to give it your all, because in the following week you got Missouri at home. You're not playing at Missouri, so that's food. You should spank them all out by at least 21. I'm giving you 21 on Missouri. And then Lane Kiffin comes in, and that should be an entertaining game, hopefully. Ole Miss has enough veterans to make it entertaining. And main thing about it is Georgia's defense that dominating, and is the offense able to move the ball? Is Brock Bowers that leader? Can he sustain success without Darrell Washington setting him up for the easy outlets? That's a lot of what we're going to see. We're just going to see a lot of questions being answered week by week as Georgia keeps going in, knocking teams out, knocking them out, knocking them out, knocking them out, knocking them out, and they're getting ready for Alabama and Atlanta. Alabama's in 12-round fights, okay? Alabama's looking like Evander Holyfield right now in 1995, while Georgia's looking like Mike Tyson right now. There's 2-round knockouts. Boom, boom. It's over. Boom, boom. Third string quarterback is in by the fourth quarter. Boom, boom, boom. Not even a second string, the third string. Everybody's getting turns, scoring. That's how it is for the first 1, 2. I see like 5, 6 games where you could be playing second string players by the second half. That's not going to prepare you for Alabama, but it can definitely prepare your depth chart if you go about it that way. If you talking about, let's see who dominates now, just keep them dominating and rotate domination. If Georgia's on that mindset, then hey, it might not even matter. So Ole Miss comes in, makes it entertaining for a half, and then the second half, the Dogs just shut them down with the dominating the line of scrimmage. I don't think Pete Golden's going to really make a difference in this game. And then it's all about what is Tennessee at the end of this year. They're not used to playing a dog in November. They're used to playing everybody in September, October, and then coasting for the rest of the year. What is Tennessee at this moment? You might play South Carolina or Kentucky in November, but you never played a SEC championship caliber team in November. It doesn't happen much if it does happen. I know you played Florida in 2020. It might have been December or late November. But this game is all about if Joe Milton is even the starting quarterback. Can we even guarantee that he's the quarterback at this time? I can't. Can you? No. So that's and Georgia Tech is food. Georgia Tech has been food for the last 20 years. I think they might have won 1 or 2 games, maybe 4 or 5. I don't know. Mark Richt was surely a disappointment to many of the fans. But that's 12-0. And Alabama is just right there at the end. And I have Alabama edging that game out. I don't think it's going to be a dominating performance. I think it's going to be like a lot who has the ball last and who can kick a field goal type of game. I think it's going to be a lot of field goals in that game. Barely any quarterbacks getting touchdown. I think it's going to be a real Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali type of battle. And so we wanted to introduce the preseason CEM rankings. Thank you for following us on this SEC predictions. We're going to cover and go into these games. And next episode, we're going to see, where's the challenging games at. So I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check us out, the Cali Flow Boys here, the original SEC versus Big Ten podcast. I am Ron from Oakland, signing out.